Care-a-Lot is a place that we all love.
It's
Laughing out loud, slinging on a cloud, things that rhyme with loud.
It's not bad.
Yeah, that's when we were watching.
That was my favorite. That was the rock bottom moment in that song. And it's with Care-a-Lot. It's not bad. Wow, somebody fell asleep.
So no, here's the funny thing about these movies. We're just doing all the Care Bears movies because it's like, just hammer them all out. Well, first of all, is it fair to say that the best is first and they get less and less as they go along?
Yeah, I actually I don't hate the first Care Bears movie.
Yeah, it's not good. Don't get me wrong.
But here's the thing: it's aimed at freaking 5-year-olds.
But
like, what are you gonna really expect? I mean, it's a Hallmark greeting card character aimed at 5-year-olds teaching kids to be nice to each other. I'm not expecting high art here.
But something you said, when we were watching it, we said, it's aimed at 5-year-olds. Let's just do it because it was a big part of us growing up. I watched Care Bears when I was a little kid and stuff.
Yeah, I remember seeing it on the big screen, in the 80s.
When I still see them, I immediately think of plastic toys. I don't see fur. I think of the plastic toys because we had a bunch of them.
And that new plastic toy smell.
Yes, indeed. No,
you get a contact eye from them. It was great.
No, it's like smelling Play-Doh. It's like that smell never goes away.
It was like licking toads. Maybe this is why we like Care Bears so much.
Maybe we just automatically think back to getting high, and this is the imagery we saw. But now, something you said is that you say, even though this is obviously for little kids and stuff, there is a feeling of atmosphere to it and environment in the first one.
In the first one in particular, there actually was effort put into it. Not always, because that song sucked in the opening, but
most of the songs sucked. I'm trying to think of it.
Most of the songs
they were all
good. Songwriting was not the Care Bears thing. But I said, it was when Care-a-Lot was breaking down and everybody was boarding up like it was like a hurricane was striking.
And the boat is coming up and stuff. I was kind of I feel the sense of size to this.
There was a sense for aimed at 5-year-olds of epicness. This was a step above the cartoon show. And there was a sense of atmosphere. I was remember watching it, I was turning to you during that hurricane scene. I was like, this is really strangely atmospheric. I'm actually kind of buying this.
Yeah, or even
I'm not even the target audience.
At the very end with that great creepy book and Nicholas acting as silly as he is and stuff. There's something to it at the very end. I mean, it's we kind of make fun of it in the review, but it's as a little kid watching that scene where it's just goes really quiet and there's that weird sound going, where are they? It's this is I don't know, I wasn't scared as a kid, but I was drawn in. It did somehow draw me in, even watching it as an adult. I was creeped out
because he had the Judge Doom eyes going, and then that weird fucking Sinead O'Connor face in the book, just yes, kill them all. It was just, they were,
when he was trying to close the book, I think I edited that out for time, but it's there's some creepy animation going on where because her face is being smushed and she's trying to project it open, stop! And it's pretty cool, actually.
It's very black magic for something aimed at little kids. It's about caring and defeating an evil head out of a dark arts book.
You know what I kind of felt like? Even though it wasn't good, I felt like I was transported somewhere else. I felt like I was in kind of a different universe, even with the villains.
Well, and let's not forget, it's an origin story, because we get to find out where the Care Bear cousins came from.
Yeah, until the second one, when it's origin story again, even though it's a 2. It's called the new generation, even though technically it's the first generation.
It didn't make any sense either. It's origin story rewritten, because weren't they in separate lands in the first Care Bears movie, and then in the prequel, they're all together, and what happened? Was there some sort of Thanksgiving dinner where they all were just fuck you guys?
So
maybe that's when they learned how to care.
Maybe. Even the animation, there was still I think it was one of those things where it didn't seem like everything was on model, so they could experiment a little bit more, maybe because they were kind of, it felt like they were a little newer, but they experimented in an interesting way, the way they moved and the way they talked. I mean, it was a little odd, but it was very expressive. And maybe that's why I think of the movie. I think very expressive.
This was one of those in a series of 80s movies like The Chipmunk Adventure, where it was really high-end for what was a lower-end movie.
Yeah.
The lower-end movies kind of felt high-end to us at the time.
Actually, that animation in the Chipmunk movie, actually, it's actually legitimately good. Watching it again.
I mean, it's good animation, but when you think about it, it's just it's the Alvin and the Chipmunk
Yeah,
adventure.
I mean,
like you'd be like, this isn't.
It's not a
Walt Disney.
groundbreaker.
Yeah, this isn't a Disney movie. This wouldn't have been Pixar or Dream. Like it's just like, here's a Chipmunk knockoff movie, and yet they were strangely well animated. And the Care Bears movie is not as good as that, but it definitely was way better than it needed to be.
Yeah,
like
I
could have
think
just
that's it. It was
thrown anything on screen to sell tickets, and that's kind of why I like the first one overall. Is I feel like no. They went above and beyond what really would have been necessary because they could have done bottom of the barrel, which is what the movies later become.
Yeah. But again, not good. I mean, I will clarify.
good,
It's
good. I mean,
not good. It's not like, yeah, I can watch that again and really enjoy it. It's like, no, I'll watch it and be like, okay, this is. Can we fast forward this part?
Oh, yeah,
This
no.
is
Well, I mean,
but-
again, we're not the target audience. This is
Yeah.
like when people are like, yeah, the Care Bears,
It's like the Ewoks cartoon. It's like, you know, it's not
Yeah.
the target audience, but what, you know, it's like for the target audience, it's fine because there is stuff out there for little kids. It's like, no, this is awful, and it'll make them dumber, and there's gonna be nothing for them to rewatch later or enjoy or take any substance from. But, you know, this you kind of can, even if it's like a sense of atmosphere and even kind of pacing, really.
A couple of random things I noticed. The voice of Penny from Inspector Gadget is in this, and it's like so obviously her voice.
She's in the first two, yeah.
Yeah, that it kept creeping me out because I'm just like, I feel like I'm just watching some weird episode of Inspector Gadget where it's like a crossover because she plays yet another blonde-haired girl with a ponytail.
No. She plays a brown hair in the next one, but then the blonde one that looks just like her is someone else, but then the kid that plays Nicholas is also dark-haired, so they switch everything around, but they get the same voice actors doing the exact same
I didn't realize
voices.
that was the same voice actor doing Nicholas and Dark.
No. It's
You
really
learn
bizarre.
something new every day. Thank
Like,
you,
I
Care
don't know
Bears.
why, but it's like, I'm very thankful, because that brings us to movie 2, which really doesn't have much to it at all.
I wasn't done with the
I
first
want to talk
Care
about
Bears.
Darkheart!
Okay, no. We'll get back to
Darkheart's
Darkheart.
amazing.
The last thing I wanted to say about the first one is something I really liked about this movie is its moral message was be kind to everybody and be nice and this and that. And it didn't fucking puss out at the end. How many fucking movies have I seen where, like, kids' movies in particular, where it's all like, oh, it's about family and togetherness and friendship, and yet at the end they always just shit on the villain.
Yeah, they
I'm
beat
like,
him up or
wow,
something.
they beat him up or something, or the Toy Story movies always come to mind, where, like, at the end the villain, like, always gets, like, you know, kicked out, or the second one kind of bothered me the most with,
Stinky Pete.
yeah, with Stinky Pete, where it's just like, no, this guy's been abused all his life, and yeah, he's being a jerk about it, but they're like, haha, we're gonna kick your little girl's house, and you're gonna live life in hell, and I'm just like, wow, you guys are just dicks.
Okay, well,
Like-
first of all, it's not a life in hell. It's a life at a little girl's house. Second,
Oh,
he
come on,
was
no, his
constantly-
reaction was like, oh my god, like, that's life in hell for him.
Okay, it's not like Toy Story 3 where they're all almost burned alive.
Well, yeah, that's another one,
But no, I know what you're talking about.
that
This-
toy was strapped to the front of a truck. I'm like, that's like torture.
Oh, actually, yeah, that was pretty
Yeah,
intense,
I'm like, what the hell? But so the thing about this movie is the moral is be nice, and the funny thing is the Care Bears always have this out with the Care Bear with the Care Bear stare, and like it always was a joke to me that like it still somehow seems like violence. Like when it's
Well, you
all
don't
said,
know what it's doing.
Well, but it's all like when it's all said and done, it's like fire our weapons.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know what it's doing or how much it's harming it, but you know it's stopping it, so they're not like, oh, it feels like massage, I'm just gonna take it. No, it's hurting them.
Yeah, it's like we're gonna fight them with loving violence. That always bothered me. But what I love about the movie is at the very end, that fucking Care Bear stare doesn't do shit. It's up to the kids to basically like talk the older boy out of it. And I'm like, see, violence didn't solve anything in this movie. When push came to shove, it was all about like togetherness and caring and blah blah blah, but it didn't puss out.
I just love today hearing you say the fucking Care Bear stare didn't do shit.
It didn't.
I just like, you just said this, the Care Bear stare did not fucking work.
Though it did give us one of our favorite memes, which is taste the rainbow motherfucker.
Yeah. No, I remember you said that. I'm like, oh, that's pretty funny. Like, put that in. I showed it to you and you laughed really hard. I'm like, okay, I think it's okay. And now that's like a really, really big line that everyone remembers.
That's one of the few that I will totally take credit for, because it's
Yeah.
one of my personal favorites.
So, yeah, and then we get the second movie, which is not like, I don't know, well, it wasn't painful. It's not the worst or anything, but it's a rewrite, which is already weird, especially with the title. But then it's like, it's really dull. I mean, which is so weird. Because it's like, it's Care Bears.
I know
but
it's hard
like,
to say for something called Care Bears. It just didn't make a lot of sense to me.
Well, it's not even...
It's like some camp story, and then these two kids are invited to help take care of little baby Care Bears. I'm like, what makes them qualified babysitters or veterinarians? Like,
You know, again, it's so weird to say, and I think this, maybe what the first Care Bears got, which, is odd to say, but I think, even though, because the story of the first one doesn't make sense either, but it accomplished that emotional investment, that somehow you were still invested in what's going on in the story, in the characters, in the environment, and, I mean, not a ton, but enough to care. Haha, see what I did there? With the second one, I think you don't really care about any of them, because there's not really, half the time, there's not really a story going on. The first one, there was always something, for the most part, moving the story along. I mean, even, like, bringing the kids up to Caroline. Well, let's show you around Caroline a bit. Okay, you gotta do that. With this one, it's like, the Care Bears, after they grew up, were playing. Then Darkheart showed up and tried to get them. He didn't. So he tried to really get them as this big pile of smoke.
You said it wrong, though. You gotta say, Darkheart!
Yeah. But then they scared him away. But then they had to chase him. For some reason, and to this world that you don't know and don't see much, and it so did not grab you at all, because it was so confusing.
To my 6-year-old brain, if there's a magic shop and a magician, it just figures to me that maybe one of the books is evil. It's magic. I didn't get the whole crystal thing and the cloud and I don't know. I just felt like I don't get
the only thing
I just don't know where it came from. In the mythos of the Care Bears, where was this coming from?
The only even as a little kid, I remember the only investment I really had. I did hate the movie as a kid. I'll enjoy anything that's in front of me, but the only investment I really had as a kid that I remembered coming out of that was with Darkheart, even though he was the villain, and the girl, the camp champ, the girl, because even though she was a brat, it was also, but she seemed real. She seemed like a real kid, and that was something I think
this seems to be a common theme in the early Care Bears movies. Don't mess with the dark arts. Apparently, black magic is something that kids were getting into in the 80s. Must have been a Dungeons and Dragons thing.
Mazes and Monsters, man, true story. But yeah, there's something I think that's in the first Care Bears film. Sorry, I had too, is that even the kids, when it starts off, they're talking about how they were just sort of emotionally distant, and it kind of showed in their performance. You kind of got it. And it's the same thing with the girl in this. You kind of got that she does feel removed, and she wants to be something, really cool. She wants to be a center of attention. Even when she is, it's like she seems happy, but she's kind of not, or she's uncomfortable, and she was
the Anakin
awkward.
Skywalker of the day.
and even sort of the connection they have.
It's the Care Bears. They're holding me back.
Well, what I like too, and there's a scene, when I saw it as a kid, when she saves him on the boat, which is really funny now, just the idea that Darkheart would go out like a fucking moron hitting his head on the canoe. But when she brings him back, and she was just sort of like, and he's like, you saved me, why? I'm clearly the villain and everything, and I can't remember her exact response, but it was kind of along the lines of, I don't know. And even watching that as a kid, I was sort of like, I don't know either, but yeah, that kind of felt right. That feels like the right thing to do.
Again, they don't puss out.
Yeah.
And that bothers me when I see that in kids' movies, where, the moral of the story is always something about togetherness and caring, and yet at the end you're just like, well, but if somebody I don't like, I can chuck that out the window. I mean, fuck those guys. I'm like, that's kind of a mixed message. And, these ones, they always just, at least the first two, stuck to it. Honestly, I'm having trouble remembering how the other two ended. That's why I said that.
The other two was other loopholes.
And of course, it gave us one of our favorite reads ever. Time for a game of disappearing bears.
That kid's voice is amazing.
Oh man, he made us crack up so many times.
I would love to find that actor and just shake his hand, say thank you for bringing me so much
I don't know
enjoyment.
what accent that is.
It's a weird Christopher Walken-ish
Yeah, we were debating that
something?
maybe he was Canadian.
That's our big guess.
Know.
Yeah, but it's what is a Canadian accent? It's kind of hard to say. It's there definitely is one, but it's hard to kind of
all I know is that there's something very off.
Yeah, it's we can't quite describe. It's just such a weird.
It's
sounding
almost
voice.
like he's a very young John Lovitz.
Maybe
everything's a little.
I get Walken. I definitely get it. Time for a game of disappearing bears. That's what I kind of get. But it's such an enjoyable voice and such a distinct voice.
True Heart, you underestimate my powers. More power.
No, and actually that is a good case too of whatever, they use the stair at the end of that movie too, but it's like, it's not doing anything. He has to choose to come back and start carrying stuff so he can save
This does
the girl.
make me wonder, though, why they have the stair, if it's really ineffective when push comes to shove.
It works sometimes and not others.
I always felt like it was brainwashing, too. I felt like there was no effort involved. Oh, he's not nice. Care Bear stare. I'm happy now.
Well, we tried talking when that doesn't work. Just blunt force.
Manchurian candidate their asses.
So, yeah, sort of a throw on the second one. Third one, Care Bears in Wonderland. I remember I was so obsessed with seeing this film when I was a little kid.
Desperate to see this movie.
I was just like, because I loved, this is when they were combining all sorts of stuff for like, look, like Roger Rabbit and stuff, and like, when I saw Alice in Wonderland and Care Bears, like, those are just two things I loved as a kid. I was so freaking excited.
And there was like a 2.5 something like year age difference between us, so I had hit that point where I'm like, I'm fucking done with this character.
Yeah, no, you were
like,
way too old. I remember seeing it just
I
like,
hit that
You're taking me
phase.
to this, Mom?
Yeah, and literally it's just like I basically got dragged to it with Doug.
Twice, I think.
Really? I only remember the once.
I saw it twice.
It was at $1 cinema.
I remember because we came in like 10 minutes early. 10 minutes late.
It was at some
the second
shitty
time.
strip mall too, like somewhere west of
Yeah, it was in a mall, I
Waukegan,
remember
like
that.
up north from here, and it. Yeah, that is my memory. I remember sitting there, like, bored out of my mind like this, just for about, like, an hour and a half. And I, like, pretty much forgot everything except for the evil wizard, something having to do with chess maybe at one point, and then at the very end, pickled beets! Oh, that's all I remembered from this movie.
Yeah, I think looking back, all I remember the two little spider guy, whatever they were, remind me of Mr. Beastly from the show, which I'm sure it's the same voice actor. And like, yeah, I'm trying to like the middle where like they actually get into Wonderland and they're looking around and stuff, and there's that weird kind of song that's being played, that weird trippy song. Like, I remember that looking really creative. Like, okay, this is Wonderland. I kind of get it, and you're doing it okay.
You did always have an Alice in Wonderland fetish, though.
It's amazing. It's still amazing, except when Tim Burton gets
I think
it,
that was part of it.
strangely enough.
Well, I will say this, the Disney Alice in Wonderland is one of 3 tapes we had on beta when we were, like, literally toddlers.
Yeah, we watched it
That,
a lot.
Mary Poppins, and Bedknobs and Broomsticks were the first things we ever saw. So I think it got, literally, zapped into Doug's brain.
Yeah, we had to watch it a lot,
And so
too,
we
'cause
saw
didn't
the
have that
words
many.
Care Bears, it was like, all right, and then saw In Wonderland and just started, sold! Drooling, yeah.
But yeah, even then, it's like, I think I saw it twice, but even then I kind of knew. It's like, it wasn't as good as, like, the first one, or I don't know. So, something was missing and I couldn't say what it was. And
I think you saw it on Disney Channel. Because I remember you watching it once.
I probably saw it there, too.
Yeah, I don't think we saw it twice.
No, I remember because we came in 10 minutes late the second time.
Wow.
It was when they were coming into her room, like the creepy stalkers that they are.
Thank you, narcotics. You made me forget.
But yeah, no, it was one of those where it's like, it's not, again, it's bright, it's colorful, just entertain your little kid, but there's really nothing. There's nothing of substance outside of one or two little creative scenes.
Very little effort, but on the bright side, it's mostly harmless. It's meant for 5-year-olds again.
And then the Nutcracker one, like, I was just like, I think I was at the stage you were talking about with the Alice in Wonderland one. Like, I'm starting to get out of it. I just sort of watched it because nothing else was on, and then when it was done, I'm like, I think I'm done with this. No, I remember
The funny thing is, I completely forgot about it. Like, I forgot ever seeing it.
I think they just ran it on TV.
They did, and like when you put it on, I had this acid flashback, and I was like,
in a fight with that.
I was like, whoa! Like I literally like the whole background melted away, and I was like, whoosh, to seeing it as a kid on TV, and I was like, whoa, that was amazing. Like, and because the one thing I remembered was that the main character, her name was like Mrs. Walker or something, and I just always like, that's our name, dude. Like, that's all I remembered as a kid, and yeah, that's pretty much all I remember. But that was the other thing is I remember seeing it on TV. I don't ever remember it being released in theaters, and maybe it was, but
I don't think it was.
I always remember just it was some hour special because I remember they're advertising it.
It wasn't even that long.
Saturday morning cartoon.
It felt longer.
Yeah. Oh god, it felt long.
I think that rat was also like the Mr. Beastly voice or whatever. But no, I remember I was really getting out of that because that's when Ninja Turtles were coming out too, and all I was thinking to myself, I really wish the Ninja Turtles would kick their asses. I was like, imagine Ninja Turtles were here, beating up the rats and stuff like that.
Most random crossover ever. Actually, I'd totally watch it. Care Bears versus Ninja Turtles.
We're gonna talk about drugs. But yeah, I just remember watching that thinking like, man, all I want to see is Ninja Turtles. I'm like, I think I'm done with Care Bears. I just want to watch Ninja Turtles the whole time now.
And then the bright light came down from the sky, and the rest of us are like, welcome back, Doug.
Yes. Welcome to the next stage of boyhood. I mean, it's like, this is stupid too, but it's a whole new level of, it's like awesome stupid. This is pussy stupid. This is awesome stupid.
Fuck the Care Bears. Now, April O'Neil.
Oh, yeah. The Mrs. Walker was kind of hot. Actually, I have no idea what she looked like. I can't remember what she looked like. For all I know, maybe she had like wrinkles all over her, so I actually don't remember. Because it's a very easy movie to forget, surprisingly. Did she have wrinkles all over her? I actually don't.
I
actually totally forgot she existed until you brought it up. I'm like, oh yeah, she's like telling a story or something she's telling the story of the Nutcracker that apparently really happened, and that inspired the ballet somehow. It's like really confusing.
Doug, do you want to do your ballet teacher?
Maybe.
Is there something you're not?
Ballet.
Okay.
I never took ballet. Ooh, tough. I never did, by the way.
Care Bears, ballet, really building a dossier here.
The Ninja Turtles got me out of it.
Attracted to your ballet teacher, who also is named Mrs. Walker.
God. Freud would have a fun time with this. What was I going to say?
Time for a game of disappearing innuendos.
So yeah, it's one of those things where I think like, it's not like it started off on a high note, but it's like it was surprisingly giving us more than we probably needed or deserved or something. Just something like that deserved. And then diminished by the second one. Third one, there's a little left. And fourth one, there was nothing. So weird to say. It is still so strange to talk about the Care Bear movies like that. But I know you're saying
I don't hate that movie.
When we put on the first film, I mean, it really was
honestly, as a nostalgia critic thing, it literally was nostalgic.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, wow, this really takes me back to when I was a kid. Like, not, I was 17, or no, I literally was a small kid.
But it's not just, the nostalgia goggles. I remember I was watching and being like, like we were making jokes and stuff.
Oh, yeah,
but it wasn't like we were laughing so hard at so stupid this is. And we were kind of like, I kind of like the music in that track. Or I kind of like the pacing they did there. Or they slowed this area down.
They did a decent job. It'll never win any awards, but it was a decent job.
Yeah. So it's probably about as good as you can do with Care Bears now.
Now they're all CGI. They're coming back.
Oh, are they? Okay.
Yeah.
No, you know what? I saw something. They did like a reboot at some point. I just saw like one of them had like... I think it was meant to be funny, but it was like a Care Bear head and like this robotic body that was attached to him, like that, like the Terminator, like that was one of the villains. And I just had to laugh at how silly that was. Like, I think it was meant to be silly because it was more recent, but it was pretty funny.
You may need a very violent Care Bear stare for that. I'll give you that.
I don't think we're going to talk
if that thing's coming to me, yeah, I'm like, oh, hell no.
So, yeah, that's, good God, that's like our 20-30 minute talk on Care Bears. I hope you enjoyed it. I don't think we'll ever say anything about it again. I don't know if there's any more to talk about with Care Bears.
I hope it was everything you expected and more.
It's not bad.